The first thing that I would do is to put out something that's going to be immediately beneficial in terms of economic development. I'm working with Paul Harville now, trying to come up with some ways that can best serve us as a manufacturing base here in Fort Smith, but also as someone who's looking toward more high-tech jobs. And one of the things that I think is important, we judge everything right now based on how many jobs something creates, which is a great indicator. You know, if Judge Harper brings a plant to Fort Smith and he brings 50 jobs with it, then he's going to get X amount of incentives, which is a good thing. But we've got to look beyond that. In this economy, and it goes quick. In this economy, if he brings a plant that has $100 million of capital and only employs 25 people, he doesn't get near the incentives. So we've got to do something to balance out the need for capital infusion here in Arkansas and the need for jobs. And I think once we do that, then both of them will come.
Representative?
I would look towards trying to help create jobs in our area. And the way I do that, try to stimulate the economy. I file in a bill to further reduce the sales tax on groceries for people so they have more money to put back into our local economy. I'll also file a bill to lower the sales tax on energy. Both of those, we've been doing those, some of those each year, and I think those are right on target. We need to keep doing that. Started out when we first started on this back in 07, and I think we need to just keep right on reducing taxes and lower them, and therefore stimulate the economy.
I've already filed my first bill. It stopped out of Obama health care. And we have, I have an alternative to that. My second bill would be to a voter empowerment bill. And it'll be coming around. Anyway, I'm with Stephanie. When you have 2,000 to 2,500 bills introduced in legislation each session, you know, we've got enough laws. We just need to continue or carry out the Constitution. But anyway, we've got, the only way we're going to stimulate the economy is by tax cuts, being competitive in the real world.
Thank you. I think that what this race is about, District 13, is what have we done, and I think you can look at our track record. I do believe that I have a very good track record of having produced good things for Fort Smith. I was the lead sponsor on the legislation that made the appropriation possible for the $2.2 million for our Marshall Museum. Also, I was the lead sponsor on tort reform for businesses throughout this city that sell firearms and ammunition. If those firearms and ammunition perform as they're supposed to, it protects those businesses from frivolous lawsuits. Other states have actually had those kind of suits brought against them. So I would say that the track record is what I have to bring to Fort Smith.
I have worked and continually worked with my colleagues on cutting taxes. I was co-chair of Tax and Revenue this past session, and we got some tax cuts for the city of Fort Smith downtown, and of course it died in the Senate, but I'll continue to try to take or cut taxes to create economic growth in Fort Smith.
As Senator Alta said, West Ark becoming the University of Arkansas Fort Smith is a huge economic engine here. And when I was in the House before with Representative Carson, we worked and I think led the charge on getting West Ark College transformed into the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. And that's bigger than just a name change. That gave Fort Smith and Fort Smithians an opportunity, number one, to get a four-year education. It's something that will benefit us forever. Number two, it gave us an incubator, if you will, something that could bring jobs, could allow manufacturing and other businesses to work with the college to provide a place where we could grow, educate, and continue to train. So that, to me, that's the biggest thing that I did as far as Fort Smith goes. There were a couple other things that I think are important. One is just as an example, the community center at Creedmoor Park with the tennis. I felt like tennis should be available to more than just people that are at the country club. And so we provided funding there to provide a place where they can have a pro and benefit leagues and things like that as well. Another thing is the turn back money for the convention center. In our first term in '99, Joe and I worked on that, and I hesitate to bring the moderator into all my answers here. But we worked very closely on a lot of different issues and had a good time. And it's not a Republican-Democrat thing, it's a what's best for Fort Smith thing. And I was able to stand up over and over and over again and work for the people of this town.
I sponsored a bill my first session to make PTA tax exempt, and it seems like that government is not in the mood to cut taxes, but to grow taxes. But I do support, I don't really know of a tax exempt that I don't like, and I don't really care for any new taxes that I don't like.
Join the chorus saying, yeah, that'd be a great thing to do. The problem when you get to Little Rock is that you come up with an idea like cutting taxes, and immediately you're met by the governor's staff and a lot of other agencies of, well, you can't cut taxes, that money goes to education. In this case, it would actually help education. So it's kind of a dichotomy where you've got one good and one bad in their opinion, and they're battling. What we have to do is come up, let's say that cutting those taxes cost the state $1 million, which I differ with the term cost there because it's giving money back to our kids and our organizations. But we've got to identify that $1 million somewhere in a budget that we can cut. And all you hear, and it's easy to talk about rhetoric of, well, there's all this waste in government. And there is a lot of waste in government, and we see it every day. You see it with highway crews standing around. You see it with just a proliferation of programs that need to be cut. But somebody's going to have to stand up and say, this is something that can be cut, and then go forward with it. And that's taking people that work with the governor's office. Obviously, the governor is he's in control of a lot of the programs there. So we've got to have people that get respect from the governor's office and can come in and take a great idea, like exempting those different groups, and come in on the other side and say, let's cut this to go along with it so that this thing's revenue neutral.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I think it has a very good chance of passing. When we're running for office, we pick whatever party that we're running, that we're going to be running in, like in this case, a Republican primary for myself and my two opponents. But once we're elected, we go to Little Rock. It's important for us to work with Democrats and Republicans from all over the state. This particular idea, if that's put forth, I'd be glad to introduce that as a bill. I think there's a good chance it could be passed because it makes so much sense. Stop and think for a second that the public schools are supported with tax dollars, both statewide and local and federal. This particular idea would, in fact, why would we want to tax local nonprofit groups that are putting money into our school system? It's just wasted time spending it around. If it can go directly into the schools and less drag on that local nonprofit, it'd have an excellent opportunity of passing. Just like the bill that I introduced to reduce the tax on homeowners. That was a bill I introduced in '07. Democrats liked that bill. They liked it so much, the Democratic leadership said to me, if you will allow a Democrat to become the lead sponsor of that, and you become the #1 co-sponsor, we'll get behind it and help you pass it. I agree. It's now law. So there's a reduction in the homestead tax. You don't have to pay as much on your homes now. It was a $50 savings per year. So now it's up to $350. So that's a good thing. This same thing can happen with this. It depends on how you explain it. It's not all about Democrat versus Republican once you're down there and negotiating. Sometimes a good bill will stand on its own. And this is a good idea, and it will stand up.